With me today is Jeff Witt. Jeff is a Niceville resident and is also running for Congress to replace Matt Gaetz, who resigned what feels like 3 years ago, but was actually maybe a week and a half ago at tops. So, Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you've decided to run for Congress.
Well, first of all, Christopher, thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan of Mid-Bay News and delighted to be on the program with you. Look, I'm running for Congress here in the 1st District because I believe we need a veteran representing the district that has the most veterans anywhere in the country. I've served for 14 years wearing the uniform as a member of the Air Force and Air National Guard. I continue to serve today as an F-35 instructor pilot in the Air National Guard. And I believe that I can best represent the views and speak to the issues affecting veterans in this community. Additionally, I'm a father. I've got 4 young children. And so I understand how badly inflation is really hitting families in our community and around the country. And I believe that those 2 things make me the best person to represent this district in Congress.
So, a lot has changed since we set up this interview just a couple, I guess, 24 hours ago. We now have an endorsement from President-elect Trump, and it's not of you. So, how do you view that challenge, for lack of a better term, and what are you going to do to talk to people about what your position is going to be in this race?
Right. Well, I am 100% pro America First agenda. I support President Trump, and I am going to work to also earn his endorsement. I believe I am best positioned to represent the veterans in this district, and I believe they need to have on the ballot in January someone who represents their perspective and their voice, and also represents the America First agenda. So I'm presenting the both and option here, and like I said, I'm going to work tirelessly to meet the voters, make the case that I'll be their best representative in Congress. And I believe during that course, as President Trump perhaps gets to know me and my candidacy and my profile better, that perhaps I'll also earn his endorsement as well. But I can guarantee you that if I do win this race, I will be his #1 proponent in Congress. I will get the America First agenda passed for the people of this district. And I can guarantee that I will be working tirelessly to do so.
So looking at these next couple of months, I mean, you got a really quick turnaround. January 28th is the primary for both the Republican and the Democratic Party tickets. What are you going to be doing in the next 2.5 months to make your case?
I'm going to be all over the district. I'm going to be knocking on doors. I'm going to be meeting voters, and I'm going to be listening to the issues that are really affecting them and making sure that I am representing them and speaking on their behalf. I expect to form up a great team of volunteers, and we're going to make an army, and we're going to get the message out there that this campaign is the right one to get behind, to bring a voice of a veteran to Congress. We haven't had a veteran represent this district in my lifetime, and I just don't think that makes any sense for a district that has more veterans than any other district in the country. So I'm going to stay in this race. I'm going to be that option for veterans. And I look forward to meeting as many voters as I can over the course of the next 2 months. I will be working tirelessly over those 2 months, I can assure you.
So you are a veteran, and of course, you have a lot of other unique service propositions, for lack of a better term, to use a business term. Tell me a little bit about what makes you different than the small platoon-sized element that has entered this race, or at one point was in this race, but might be out of this race. What makes you different?
Well, I think a couple things. First, I think I represent a younger generation of conservatives who've been inspired by President Trump's leadership and courage. You know, when I saw him get up from the bullet that was shot at him with the blood on his face and pumping his fist, I thought that was inspiring. And it's part of the reason that I want to go to Congress and help him get his agenda passed. So I think the representing the younger conservatives here is important. I also believe I have the capability, the character, and the potential to bring transformative leadership to Congress on behalf of this district. I've mentioned it before already. I'm a veteran. I think that's a key piece of this. I think others in this race will not present the veteran option. From what I've seen, the other veterans that were in the race are dropping out. And so I'm going to continue to be the veteran in the race that presents that option to my fellow veterans.
What's the most important thing in your mind to the voters here in Northwest Florida? What is the biggest issue?
I think it's a couple things. First, inflation. I find that the grocery bills are way too high for my wife and me. raising the 4 kids we have, it's becoming increasingly difficult. Life is way too expensive. So I think getting inflation down is probably the highest priority for everyone here. I hear it from my neighbors and people in the grocery store all the time. I think other things affecting this community, though, are the fentanyl problem. I think that's been exacerbated by the open border situation. And so I think President Trump's prescription to shut the border, get it under control, is the right one. And I'm going to support that policy as well. And I think the other thing is people are concerned about our national defense posture. You know, there's talk about World War III beginning with Russia because we're allowing American arms to be shot into long-range fires into Russia from Ukraine. I think that's dangerous, and I think people are worried about that. So I think we need to refocus our military on defending American borders and representing and defending American interests.
So, for example, you'd be all right with cutting off aid to places like Ukraine or Taiwan, something like that, as
I,
a risk mitigator.
I definitely want us to see a rapid conclusion to the war in Ukraine. You know, my heart goes out to the people in Ukraine, but I also believe that it's a very dangerous situation. And I don't think telling Vladimir Putin that he's a bad man is going to solve the problem. He may be a bad man, but the fact on the ground is that the war is at a stalemate, and it's only increasing the likelihood of the war spiraling and spreading, and that's a danger to the American citizens. And so, I'm going to push, if I'm in Congress, to bring that war to a close as quickly as possible.
It's 2026 now, and you've won the primary, you won the general, and you're running for re-election. What do you want people to judge your last 2 years on? What will you have accomplished that you're going to bring to the table and say, hey, this is why you should vote for me again?
Did we get inflation under control? Did we get the border under control? And did I listen to the voices of my constituents and represent their concerns on the national stage? And if I'm doing those things, I believe I'll be reelected by this district again in 2026.
So you brought up inflation in the border. Are there specific KPIs, key performance indicators, for lack of a better term, that will say like this is a win, or we did okay but not all the way, or this was an abject failure?
Yeah, I would say if we see grocery prices, the rate of inflation decreasing, right? Just by definition, that would be a sign that we're winning. If we see real wages increasing, because as inflation rises, people's wages buy less. And so they're getting relatively poor. If we see people, their paychecks going farther, then we know we're winning. On the border, if we hear fewer, and I would hope zero, stories of people like Lake and Riley being murdered on college campuses, violent attacks, instances of migrants taking over apartment buildings, the things we're hearing in the news right now that are incredibly troubling and dangerous for American citizens, I expect those things to be attenuated and gone in the next 2 years.
Last, more of a fun question for me. I understand you played quarterback at Harvard. Can you tell me who is going to win the national championship so I can place my bets?
Oh boy, I'm going to go with Notre Dame on that one. I think they're a dark horse. I think the loss to Northern Illinois was a fluke, and I'm going to go with them. Although betting on them in the past decades has been a bad proposition, but hey, let's give it another shot.
A little risk never hurt anybody. Sir, anything else for you? Anything you want the people to know?
Yeah, I just want the people to know that I'm staying in this race. I'm excited to represent the interests of veterans. I'm excited to represent the interests of families. I'm a fighter pilot, an active serving one. I'm a family man, and I'm here to be the voice of the people. So please reach out to me. You can go to my website, wittforcongress.com. You can sign up for updates there. I'll give you my personal cell phone number, 850-585-9258. Text me any inputs you have that you want me to hear. And I'm happy to listen to them. And I want to be a voice for the people in this community and fight for your interests.
Perfect. Well, sir, Jeff Witt is running for Congress here in District 1. He's one of several candidates. We're hoping to get everybody on with us here at Mid-Bay News so that you can see what they have to say. And of course, that primary election for Republicans and Democrats is going to be January the 28th. You have to be registered in those parties in order to vote. The general election will take place on April Fool's Day, April 1st, 2025. Sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Christopher. Great to be with you.